Yo,
What's going on?
not much, man. Hey, we're doing a Jeltz here, and this is a pretty unique one because usually we stick to video game stuff on our normal pod, and between me, you, Rich, and whoever else joins us. But being that this is like just basically very hyper focused into video game football, specifically with the release of Madden 25. And man, I know
26.
26. I'm sorry, I'm 26. Yeah, geez. I can't count anymore. So that's why we were talking off pod about, having to order contact lenses, and there you go. I can't see anything. I can't remember anything. I mean, it's just getting old.
Getting old is not for the weak.
26. But yeah, no, and you just got it for the Switch too. So man, floor is yours. Let's go.
I wish that I would have been able to get it for any other system based on my I was only able to stomach one game of it. And I will say that the graphics themselves look really good. And I'll say the presentation isn't, they haven't changed it much from what it was in years past, except for they did add the Eagles entrance, which I thought was really cool. And I feel like I think that they've done it for the other teams too.
Right.
But they actually had Lil Uzi Vert in there. And
Was it like the actual like video package or?
no. It was the the CGI players coming out.
Oh, cool.
Like they would, like the Eagles do.
Right. I just didn't know
So
they
I
had
thought
like
that
a
was
video
really
package like of it, and then the game. It could be in the Switch too. I didn't know how they would do that.
Right. No, they did it with the actual CGI players, which was cool. And but the biggest thing is like the frame rate is awful. It struggles to get to 30 frames per second. And when you're playing a sports game, especially one that you want, there needs to be a sense of speed to it. So
Yeah.
like football or hockey, you need that sense of speed. 30 frames per second doesn't cut it. And especially like it makes playing the game feel really clunky. And if it were able to maintain 30 frames per second, I feel like that would have been a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But it struggles to maintain 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
So,
And and I think that's always been a drawback of the sports games on Nintendo's, more current generation systems, being obviously the Switch One, obviously getting a lot more of those titles since the Switch 2 just released. But I think that was always a drawback with like, we had conversations about the show, I believe, on the Switch, and it was not well received. Comparative to the show on like a PS5.
right. Well, and that's where my issue with the show, which incidentally I traded in for Madden. It ran. The best thing I can say for it is it maintained a high frame rate when you played it on the Switch 2.
Mm-hmm.
The graphics weren't there. It's kind of like the polar opposite of what we have with Madden, where the graphics in Madden, if you just look at screenshots, beautiful, absolutely
Right.
beautiful. But the frame rate drops, and they have so many issues with frame rate, and then just other little like video graphical glitches and stuff, like the screen in the link would always have this glitch, and it was actually really distracting. Like as you're playing, this glitch would happen on the screen, and it would make like yellow bars go across it, and it would be super distracting. And so, there was just too many graphical issues to look past. And I'm thinking for now, I'm not going to play it. It's going to go back in the case And if I hear that they've patched it up and made it playable, I'll try it. I'm going to give it maybe a month. But if not, I'm going to trade it back in and get something
that you can
get
play.
something else, man, because it's just not good.
We've had this conversation on our pods for years now, and I think, really hit this more recently about incomplete games and, having to wait for patches to fix what should be a working game in the first place. Don't get me wrong. I get little glitches here and there. Hey, there might be a system crash if, something bizarre happens, like, you pass for 700 yards in a game, some weird mathematical thing that crashes the game. I understand stuff like that. That happens. But for something that you're describing, which you've just gotten in a few minutes of, basically just, game, simple gameplay and graphics. Look, that's what brings you to the party.
Right.
And if you can't enjoy it after one game because it has to have all these other fixes and patches, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, dude. And what really blows about it is, like, the controls suffer because of the frame rate. Because there's latency issues from what's going on the screen and the hitches and the hiccups and everything. So, like I said, a fast moving sport like football, you can't have the kind of issues that they're having and make it an enjoyable game. It's just not feasible.
Yeah, no, I 100% with you on that. And I want to do a couple things here with the talking about the Switch 2 version compared to the PS5, the Xbox versions. And I think from talking to you off pod, it seems like you're not the only one in this position with the Switch 2 version. And again, look, we're talking just the first few days of release here. So, take that with where it's at if you decide to listen to us at some point. But the Switch 2 version, from what you've been reading, other than your own experience, kind of the same deal?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it just comes down to Nintendo, or not Nintendo, EA really needed to put in a mode like you see in most games now, where it's, do you want to prioritize performance or do you want to prioritize graphics? And they really needed to add that, because if they add that and then it can keep a consistent frame rate, maybe we're not having this discussion where I'm saying, dude, it's almost unplayable. I mean, and this is the problem is, okay, maybe for, like, say somebody that's a Switch 2 gamer only, that's never played Madden before, and this is their first experience with Madden, maybe they're not having as bad a time with it as I am.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm used to playing it on PS5. I'm used to playing it on Xbox. I'm used to better performance from it. Maybe they're not having the same issues, but at the same time, I also would feel bad that this is their first experience with Madden, because it's not great.
And I think that was one of the things that you and I had talked about too, whether it was on or off pod, about, you going to a Switch 2 only, but one of your big hangups was sports games. Right. Knowing that you had Madden, you've got NCAA, you've got these other the show, you've got these other titles that, for better or worse, knowingly better, at least graphic wise and to a point gameplay, like we'll talk the basics, on a PS5, on an Xbox, whatever. Granted, we've talked about those issues before too, with even those releases having to have a ton of patches from last year's version, or the, whatever it was. It wasn't, not this year's, but the previous year's. So, I mean, I don't know. What do you think as far as where you stand on maybe where I think talking to you about it, like the PS5 seem to be received pretty well.
Yeah, everything seems to be being received pretty well so far. There's been some minor some complaints about there's new positions in the franchise mode this year where nose tackle is one of them, and so certain players are getting bumped. Like normally there's only so many 99 rated players in a game, but then because of the ability to put players as nose tackles and stuff like that, it's bumping it up higher.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like once you start franchise, and there's stuff like that that's going on. It seems like there's less major glitches so far. Now, that being said, the biggest glitch that I've seen in the past few years from playing, which I think was in 24, it's either Madden 24 or Madden 25, made it completely unplayable past the first season of a franchise, was a draft class glitch, where it made every single player the same, look exactly the same. They didn't have any of their attributes. They all had number 0 and were like little skinny guys, no matter what position they played, no matter anything that they did. And that took, I think that took 2 months after release to finally patch out. So I haven't heard anything about that, but I don't know how many people have completed a season in franchise yet.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that was last year as we talked. And I'm almost positive we have that somewhere in our archives talking about that. Which, yeah, I mean, I always love franchise modes in games, you know, so that's a big selling point for me. And if something like that's not working, yeah, that you're right, it makes it unplayable after one season.
Right. Oh, you know what? It was 24 because it was before they had the roster upgrades where you could send the NCAA, or not the NCAA, the college football rosters up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, see, in my mind, we're still on 25. So
right.
In my head, it was last year. But
yes. Honestly, what's sad is the best thing that I got out of buying Madden this year is the 3x5 Saquon flag that came with it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it would be cooler if they would have used the actual like footage of him jumping over the player backwards, but I guess so they didn't have to pay that player, they recreated it.
Yeah, I've read about that. I don't know. I saw a couple different things about it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the other player was that one, but something about and this sounded weird to me, but I guess it kind of made sense too. The definition of the photo, because everything was just, I mean, there was pictures snapped all over the place, and you can steal a high quality snapshot from their video streams these days, obviously, but it had something. I thought it had something to do with like wiping out the background too, or something.
Oh, well, you know what? Let's talk about that for a minute too, because that was the first thing that actually struck me once I actually took a look at the packaging. You know how piss poor the packaging is? You know, I'm sure you've seen, you know, the backs of games before, and where it has smaller type font or type face that you can read and everything, and it tells you stuff about the game. They didn't even bother to make any of that readable on the Switch 2 case.
What?
It looks, dude, I swear to God, if I didn't know that I had bought it brand new from GameStop and that it was legit, it looks so bad. It looks like a bad photocopy on the back of the Switch 2 copy, or the back of the Switch 2 package.
That's not good.
Like, it looks counterfeit. And I know I bought it legitimately. So that should have been my first key and my first clue that it was a bad idea to buy it for the Switch 2. Besides the fact that it's on a key card.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that That's more noise brigade stuff.
Yeah. Which, yeah, we'll get into that later. But what really pisses me off about it though is it's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna sell well, at least as it's currently. Unless they really patch it, I don't think it's gonna sell well. And what really sucks is that means that there's literally no shot of NHL ever making it to the Switch too, which may or may not be a good thing based on what we talked about with the frame rate, because hockey again is another sport where speed matters, and having a good frame rate is very important in a hockey game.
Yeah, no,
So
and the same could be said for I don't play them, but same could be said for basketball as well. In terms of a lot of activity, a lot of going back and forth, fast breaks, whatever. So, I could see obviously some problems there with.
But 2K manages to put out their basketball games on the Switch just fine.
Are they comparatively as good on the PS? Because I always heard that the PS versions of those were pretty good. I never played them, but I always heard they were pretty good.
From what I understand, they're obviously much better on the PlayStation and everything.
But they're playable on the Switch.
But they're playable on the on the Switch.
Okay.
And so I'd imagine that they've figured out, because even like it's not apples to apples, but WWE 2K.
Mm-hmm.
They said actually the new one that they came out with looked and ran and played just as well on the Switch 2. Obviously there were some graphical changes between the PS5 and Xbox and Switch 2, but they said that it didn't suffer at all from being on the Switch 2.
Yeah, no, you're on to something too. I mean, in 2K, obviously, we've talked about the one of the your most revered football game, the NFL 2K5. And it seems like what you're saying, and it makes sense. I mean, I work on a lot of assumptions with how that stuff typically is, but yeah, I mean, if it's playable, I mean, yeah, why not? Like, that's a shame that maybe EA will eventually figure it out.
Dude, I hope so. I really, because look, like we talked about, I'm a Switch 2 only gamer right now.
Mm-hmm.
In my house, we have the original NES, Sega Genesis, a Wii, and Peyton and I each have a Switch 2. So, and that's not changing anytime soon. And I want to play Madden. I really do. So I'm really hoping they sort this stuff out, because otherwise, I mean, like I said, I'll get rid of Madden. That's fine. I won't play it this year. I'll probably wait until it goes on sale for like PS5 or Xbox, and I can grab a copy for $20 just to have it, because it's got Saquon on it.
Yeah,
but
that would be cool, and that was kind of the one thing I was like, no, because I've got I've PS5, I've and I have the original Switch. Those are my more modern systems, so I would pick it up with the PS5. My issue is that, like, right now I'm in a time of year with what I do that I really have no time to play games right now. So it's like that's a drawback. The last one we got was 2 years ago, so we got 24 for the PS5, but it was well after release, so everything was already kind of fixed as far as like any kind of we weren't going to franchise mode or anything. It was just playing games here and there because Katie was playing it mostly. Everything looked nice. I thought it ran well. I don't have a lot for the Madden games at this point because really timing is really bad for me. But you and I were talking earlier. I kind of shot you a weird question. I said, hey, best Madden games for the Wii, because that's what I've been playing, short spurts on my downtime when I'm out in the garage and I want to just kind of get away from things for a minute. And I'm okay with spending $10 right now instead of spending $70. So I thought, I don't have a lot of time. I don't want a $70 title kind of sitting there. But a $10 title, I can play it for a little bit, maybe a game, and it can sit there because I only spent $10. You know,
Right.
that was kind of my mentality or my thought process on that anyway. Right now,
And that makes perfect sense. And that actually might be, if they don't fix this, that might be the way that I go going forward, is just grab an older Madden for the Wii. You know, or maybe I snag an original Xbox because I still have my copy of 2K5.
yeah.
So, you know, maybe I snag an original Xbox from somewhere on the cheap and play that, or I don't know, man.
Just look for the latest Tecmo Super Bowl ROM.
Yeah, yeah, right. Like, I just there's just so much, and I will say this though, they really need to. I thought that I had heard, like, not a rumor, but I thought that I had heard that they were upgrading the presentation this year, and yet the first game that I played, well, the only game that I played, the first commentary that I hear is the same exact stuff from the very first Madden that I've played of the I'm thinking 20. What was the year that we went to this, what was the year we lost to the Chiefs? 23?
Yeah, that was a 20. Yeah, so it was a couple of years ago. Yeah.
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 So that was the first year that I had played Madden in a long time. And I got that one, and it's still the same stuff being regurgitated. And there's no halftime show. Like, I thought they were saying that there was a halftime show and that they were doing all this different stuff of presentation, and none of it was true. It's all the same old, same old. They do have multiple commentary teams, but the one commentary team has I can't remember her name. The woman who does the Sixers commentary.
Yeah. I can't think of her name either.
And dude, look, more power to her for being where she is and being in the game, but I'm not a fan of her voice. Like, it has nothing to do with her being a woman. I'm pro woman or pro women in sports, but I really don't like her voice.
Hey, you know what? We can talk all day long because we have an annoying guy on the Philly side on the announced team named Ruin Tomorrow Jr. So
yeah.
In fact, I saw a funny quote about that it was on one of those goof Philly Facebook sports pages that said that hundreds of fans drove to DC to watch the Phillies play live, so they didn't have to listen to Ruben on TV.
That's a true story, actually.
But no, you're right, and that's a distracting part. It doesn't matter, male, female, whatever. If that can be a distracting part or deterrent to enjoying your experience. That's the whole point of playing the game. It's supposed to be enjoyable,
right?
It's some people pick up a controller, play a game. Some people put $5 in a slot machine. Whatever happens, it's supposed to be an enjoyable experience. And if there's anything there that can make it irritating, could be a voice, could be, like you said, the glitch on the big board at the link. There's all sorts of things that just, it's like, ugh, just makes it not fun. I mean,
and like it was even some of the issues too. I'll even throw some more audio stuff. There were like breaks in the audio, like the audio was skipping. This is the dumbest thing, and it's stupid, but it's annoying. So, when the Eagles score, they play Fly Eagles Fly. Well, normally that's the only thing going on in the stadium in past Maddens. That was the only thing going on in the stadium after a score. Well, what I've noticed is in this one there was other music playing over that.
right.
Like, you had it right for 3, 4, 5 years, and now you've got it screwed up. Like, I don't know, dude. It's a little bit frustrating. It's all right. It's a lot frustrating.
No, no, and the one thing, speaking of the audio, and I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to I was going through our text, the music,
Oh, dude.
and that's what. Sorry, I was going through. I was like trying to remember exactly, because you told me some bands yesterday. The first one you said was Sabotage by the Beastie Boys, and I was like, I'm all in, man. Like, let's go. So yeah, like you rattled off some bands that are in it or musicians, and I was like, holy crap, are you sure this is a current Madden game? Like, it really blew my mind.
Yeah, Symphony of Destruction. I'm trying to remember what Corn song was in it, but Corn is in it. Limp Bizkit's in it. Um, Green Day, uh, Weezer. Um, Gosh, why can't I remember? I think the Killers are in it. Run DMC, the Beastie Boys, like you said, and I can't remember. I know 21 Pilots is in it, and there's a bunch of other bands too that I enjoy. On top of all the new like rap and then apparently country that's in it. Um, like there's a couple country songs here and there because I know I saw Jelly Roll's name in there. Um, but there's a bunch of stuff and be honest, I had to go in and shut off a lot of what was in there
Right.
because it's not up my alley. But the fact that they give you so much choice made me happy. That was a good part. And last year the soundtrack was awesome too. Andrew WK, Fallout Boy, there was all kinds of really good bands on it. So in that aspect of it, they did good. But it's just the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, like that.
Disappointing.
Yeah, this is gonna say it's like, oh yeah, we got this awesome soundtrack, and then it's like, well, the game sucks.
Well, it's kind of like Snakes on a Plane. The soundtrack was really, really good, and then the movie was bad.
Yeah. It made me think that whenever you're rattling off, the bands that we were talking about yesterday and through text, one thing that, sports games had it, WWE games had it back in the days where you could, use your own MP3s, and man, we lost a lot with that one.
Yeah. Well, 2K and 2K5 was the first one to do it, and you could even clip. You could make clips and then name them, and this is what happens at this point. Like, all right, you get a first down, it plays this. You get, on fourth down, it plays this. At kickoff, it plays this. At halftime, it plays this. And it was so immersive. Like, it was so good. Now, it sucked because you had to rip the music to your Xbox, and yeah, that took forever. And if you didn't have the karaoke thing, it didn't read your the titles of the discs. So you would have to actually have to go in and name each track.
Oof.
Which was a pain in the ass, but it was worth it to hear Shoots and Ladders playing when I'm getting ready to kick off, and you hear Jonathan Davis going, "Oh,
yeah, yeah, no kidding, man. That's one thing that we did lose on all that with sports games. Look, I get it. Times change. They want to kind of take control back, so people aren't doing that.
yeah."
I get it. It is what it is. But no, I don't know. I may end up grabbing Madden at some point, or like you said, and I said this in text earlier. It showed up on PS Plus. Gosh, it was months later. And it was a free download if you pay for the service, obviously. But it's like then it kind of goes to the other side of it too. Is like, is it really worth a lot of that data? Because I'm kind of capped. So
Yeah, and that's where my thing is, if you're playing it on any system other than the Switch 2 at this point, I would say go for it. I mean, I can get to the degenerate level of it when I get it new, and I'll play it and play it and play it, and I'll be 3, 4, 5 years into a franchise by halfway through the season, depending upon how the Eagles are doing. Because that's the big thing too, is depending upon how my team is doing, actually determines how motivated I am to play the game. It's like if we start off real good in the season, then I'm like, yeah, let's go. But if we hit a rough patch and we lose a couple games in a row, I don't even want to think about football when I'm not watching it until
Right.
it's time to. So I find my enjoyment of Madden is really tied very closely to how the team is actually doing, which
But
I mean,
yeah,
it's how life is.
yeah,
How
yeah.
much I
No,
enjoy my life is very closely tied to how
no. I
well the
mean,
Eagles are doing.
no, and I mean, how many times over the years have you watched the game, Eagles win, and you're like, first thing you got to do, pick up and go play Madden or 2K or what? You know what I mean? Some football, because you want to keep that experience going. Like you're just in it. I've done that many times over the years. Usually it's Tecmo though, but
Yeah.
But no. Speaking of football though, we're gonna get our podcast league going back up again. I think that'll be fun. We'll have to, maybe we can do another episode and live that one again. That's always fun. I enjoy that.
Yeah. We'll have to look into that and see what where we're at. And it's a shame that shame we won't. It's a shame we've never been able to be in the same room and recording it, because
I know.
I think things might get thrown across the room as
Yeah.
we snipe each other's picks.
Yeah, I finally got to a point where I'm doing a couple of live drafts in person again, which I had not done for a long, long, long time. I think I had done one in like the last decade. Um, and that was just, kind of happenstance that it worked out. But no, I did one last year, super fun, where I was kind of invited into my buddy Brian, who we did a Jeltz with about actually about fantasy football, and I was kind of the newbie. Like I knew him, and I knew like one other person, in the league. So it was kind of like a lot of different people, but it was cool, really good time, and I'm looking forward to doing that again. But now I enjoy it no matter what, man. It's such a fun time. Like just yeah, you're right. Stuff does get thrown. I mean, that's what happens. I mean,
Yeah, and I mean, I gotta say, we might have room for maybe one or two more teams in the league.
yeah, we'll have to. Yeah, we're getting down to the wire. We got a couple weeks though. We can.
Yeah. Dude, I'm such a I talked about my degenerateness with playing Madden, but I've actually already been doing mock drafts.
Yeah, now that's a good idea though. It really is. Now, of course, you kind of have to grain of salt it because sometimes whenever you draft with people, and I think we both know this. We've talked about this. Let's say you have a hardcore Cowboys fan that you're in a league with, like hardcore. They will likely, without reason, even if he's not in the top 20 for their first pick in the first round, likely go after Dak Prescott. That's just some stuff that happens.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying that that's smart at all. It just happens, or you see bizarre things, mainly, and I'm naming myself on this because I'm very tight end hungry. So
Yeah.
you know, um, I tend to screw that part of it up for enough people at the end. But what it really does is it kind of screws myself because then I end up with like taking guesses at wide receivers.
Well, I mean, but you look at it and you're getting a good player at a premium position, because there's a ton of receivers out there that are going to be reliable and that are going to be productive. Whereas tight ends, there's only so many good tight ends in the league. You know, you get Sam Laporta, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Dallas Goedert, um, Dalton Kincaid from Buffalo, and Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
Maybe Kyle Pitts, depending upon what you think of him.
Hey, he's aimed for 5 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, he is. You know, Zach Ertz has stepped his game back up, but that's pretty much where you leave it. Like that, those are your viable starting tight ends.
Yeah, you're basically at like 10 tight ends basically, and you have maybe 30 or 40 serviceable receivers. Or
Right.
and the thing I always thought was interesting about wide receiver is that inevitably you have somebody that gets hurt. So you have that third or fourth stringer that steps up and they get a lot of action, a lot of looks, a lot of field time. And, it just always, every single year you find somebody that comes out comes out of nowhere necessarily, but they're, a couple of years ago, I always looked at the Texans, Tank Dell and, some of those guys that
Nico Collins.
Yeah, Nico Collins. Like, I'm not saying that they were like unheard ofs, but man, fantasy wise, it was like, I don't know that they were on that many people's radars starting that season. And all of a sudden it was like, what's going on here?
Right. Yeah. And then, getting back to your point about, Dallas fans taking Dak, you really do need to know the people you're drafting with. And that's what's been good about our league is we've had pretty much the same people. And we know, like, obviously most of us are Eagles fans. So we're putting Eagles at a premium,
right.
Then, Marie and Justin are Chiefs fans. So they're putting Mahomes and Kelsey at a premium.
Right.
So you can kind of feel out where people are going to go ahead of time, where you can't really do that in a mock draft. Like you can, because like the mock draft that I did, the first one I did, I forget where I picked. I want to say I picked like second or third or something like that. I just randomly picked a number, or maybe I picked fourth. But in any event, I ended up with Saquon and then Derrick Henry.
Yeah, which
that's never going to happen.
Not going to happen,
no. Because either A, they're going to get taken where they should, and it's like 1, 2, or 3, or one of us is going to be, one of the Eagles fans is going to be ahead of me, and is going to take Saquon.
Right.
Like,
I mean, that's what happens. It is curious though in the mock drafts. Is there any like thing? I don't know if there's. I guess there's got to be something out there at this point where you can throw in like little AI or something, like little triggers saying, "I'm in a league with 12 people. I've got a Chiefs fan, 2 Eagles fans." Just to kind of like
that would be good. I haven't seen anything like that. ESPN definitely doesn't have it in theirs, and that's who I just been doing it through ESPN. They're like do a practice draft, and they don't have it. But that would be good if somebody could figure that out. There you go, Tom. That's how you're gonna make your millions.
Hey, well, and I say this because, and I haven't done it for this year yet because I have not been able to sit down and do my homework. I try to mess with Gemini, maybe ChatGPT a little bit last year. And I was curious, just more or less curious, to see what those tools thought of drafting. To see if I could figure. The problem is even though some of that stuff was connected live to the internet, it was working off year-old data set. So it was saying, hey, draft this person and this person. And it's like, wait a minute, that's last year. Like, it made no sense. And then I started really digging into it. And it was like, oh, yeah, that's why. And I, because you start looking at the sources and it's like, okay, just did not pick up on anything new.
Draft Tom Brady.
Yeah, exactly. It was like there was I swear there was like a weird like someone was a sleeper or somewhere in there to pick, and it was like, and I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but like they were hurt like already, like they were like hurt in preseason, and they were I want to like I say done for the year, but they were like done for a long while. and it was like, yeah, grab this person. I'm like, why would I do that? Like, shouldn't you know that this person was hurt like 2 weeks ago? Like, are you trying to sabotage my team?
Bringing clankers.